Choi Jong-In's defense shredding is really what makes him one of the best debuffers in solo leveling Arise. And for you to make your Choi even better, you're going to want to pair him with the 4-set effect of Burning Curse alongside the 4-set effect of Outstanding Ability, and this will be good for most pieces of content that you bring him in, especially Guild Boss. But if you do decide you want to bring your Choi Jong-In into the likes of the Deimos Workshop of Brilliant Lights, then you can exchange the 4-set effect of Burning Curse for the 4-set effect of the Armed sets, so then you can mainly benefit from its ability to ignore up to 18% of your target's defense. Which finally leaves you with artifact sets like One Hit Kill for its ultimate skill damage increase and also its ultimate skill cooldown reduction, and then even sets like Executioner for its up to 60% damage increase, however it does take you a little bit of time to actually receive that damage buff, and then even Concentration of Firepower can also be usable with its skill damage increase and also the basic skill cooldown reduction that you can benefit from it, making them all very usable sets as well. And then of course for the main stats for all of his pieces, for his helmet, gloves, and also his ring, additional attack is going to be the best main stat for him, but also attack percent can actually work very nicely as well. And then of course fire damage percent for his bracelet, and then finally for his boot main stat we're going to be going for defense penetration. And the main unique thing about Choi Jong-In's kit is basically he cannot deal any critical hits, which is why we go for defense penetration over critical hit damage, of course. Which also then means when it does come to your Choi's substats, additional attack and attack percent are going to be by far your two best substats for you to benefit from, as well as also defense pen and also damage increase, with all four of those being the main substats you want to go for, so you can increase your damage as much as possible. Onto your best cores for your Choi, and overall for the mind piece, you'll want to use the Ancient Wraith's Obsession, which is because it does increase your attack stat by 5%. And onto his best body piece, and for me, I think the Nameless Demon's Horn is going to be his best body piece, because whenever he uses his ultimate skill, which he does end up using quite a lot, he can grant himself a shield equal to 10% of his max HP for 8 seconds, which will be relatively beneficial, but overall you can just use whichever one you want. And then finally for his spirit piece, and because Choi does use quite a lot of skills and does like to reset his skill cooldowns, overall I think the Nameless Demon's Magisphere or the Punishment of the Crimson Apex will be your best options. And for your core main stats as well, additional attack, defense, and also HP will give you the most amount of damage as well as also CC. And then finally for the substats, defense pen or damage increase will be your best options. So next up, let's talk about all of your Choi Jong-In's best advancements. And with your Choi Jong-In playing the role of your main DPS in most of your teams outside of Guild Boss, then you are going to want as many advancements on him as possible. But one of his most notable advancements is going to be his A1, which basically triples the damage of Rain of Flames and transforms it into Mega Crater, whilst you do have his Ultimate Hunter buff active, which will allow this skill to deal a lot more damage. And then his only stat increase he does get from his advancements is going to be in his A2, which increases his attack by 12%. And then his A3 and A4 do offer some damage increases, with his A3 increasing his ultimate damage by 60%. And then his A4 will increase his burn damage that he deals by 100%, and then his fire damage by 16%. Which then brings me on to his A5, and it's pretty unique because basically while the user is tagged out, the cooldown of his ultimate passes 3 times faster, and his power gauge will charge by 0.8% every second, which will allow him to spam his ultimate a lot more often, whilst also triggering the Ultimate Hunter buff to then reset his cooldowns and also increase his stats even more. But then in teamfight mode it does change a little bit, so that the cooldown of his ultimate skill and then both of his basic skills then pass 2 times faster, and his power gauge will charge by 0.4% every second. Which also means his best skill for you to level up is also going to be Rain of Flames, which is his basic skill 1, because of things that I've just spoken about, like his A1 transforming it into Mega Crater, as well as also his Ultimate Hunter resetting its cooldowns, which then leaves you with his ultimate skill End of Days as his second best skill for you to level up, because its damage can go up to just over 3,500% of his attacker's damage, and because it is increased by 60% through his A3, it's going to be very, very important. And then for the rest of his skills, you can follow the in-game recommended skill level up order, which will give you all the information you need. So now on to Choi Jong-In's exclusive weapon, which is Equivalent Exchange, which is arguably the most important part of his whole entire kit. And this isn't going to be because it can increase his attack by up to 20%, but it's going to be because when he attacks targets that are burned by Choi Jong-In, he can decrease your target's defense by 7%, going all the way up to 20% at A5 for 5 seconds, which is where a lot of his value does come from, especially in things like Guild Boss, so you can decrease your enemy's defense to then get all of your other main DPS's damage to be a lot higher. And with your Choi's burn lasting for 15 seconds, it is going to be very, very easy to keep this up 100% of the time, so then you can keep applying that defense decrease of up to 20%. So onto your Choi Jong-In's very best team, and just like Yu Soo-hyun, Choi's two best teammates are going to be Essel Radiru, as well as also Gina. Gina. And this is going to be how you want to format your team, with your Essel acting first, with your Gina second, and then your Choi third. Because if you do have your Choi A5, you do want to make sure he gets as much time as possible to charge his ultimate as fast as possible. But of course, just like I did mention in my Gina video, the main sort of purpose of your Essel is going to be to apply her Prey on the Weak debuff, as well as also apply a lot of break damage through her skills. But one thing you do need to keep in mind with Essel is basically with her exclusive weapon, Glorious Demise, because it does increase the additional attack of the team member with the highest crit rate, it does mean Choi won't really be benefiting from her weapon at all, so it will go on to somebody else who does have higher crit rate. So then, because of that slight limitation with Essel, it does mean you could also opt to use your Emma Laurent as your main breaker, because just like Essel as well, Emma Laurent does have a lot of break damage through her skills like Burn Up, as well as also Flame Cleave, and also even through her advancement, she can also increase the break damage and break effectiveness of her skills, which is very, very good. But also what she can support your Choi with is the ability to burn your targets through her core attack, Flare Strike, which of course will benefit your Choi's ability to constantly apply the defense decrease debuff to your enemies through his weapon. And then not to mention as well, through the heat emission buff, your Emma can also buff your whole entire team's fire damage and also defense pen. And also even through her A3, she can apply heat absorption to your entire team, which can help with the survivability in your team, giving them a shield, healing, and more. And then on to Gina, and what she's going to support with your team very nicely is going to be her mana circulation and especially body retrograde, with of course mana circulation increasing attack and fire damage. And then body retrograde is really good because it mainly does charge your power gauge for your whole entire team, which is going to help your Choi's damage a lot. And then finally as well on Gina, she does have more damage increases, damage reductions, shields, debuffs, and even really valuable stat increases for your whole team. But of course as well, shadows are going to be very, very important, and because a lot of your Choi Jong-In's damage does come from his basic skills, it does mean that Big Rock is going to be a fantastic authority leader for you to use. But also even Kaisel is going to be very, very good for his ultimate skill damage increase, as well as also even Blades for his attack stat increase. And then the final two shadows are going to consist of using Beru, as well as also your Serbi the Cerberus, which is going to be for the two debuffs that they do apply, which can help increase your team's damage. And then finally, when it does come to actually how you use your Choi Jong-In, basically your main goal is to utilize your Essel and Gina to increase the amount of damage potential that your Choi can have. So he can come in, use his ultimate, and then he can reset his skill cooldowns to then generate his ultimate again after you've completed your rotation once again, so then he can just keep that cycle of spamming his ultimate and basic skills as much as possible, which does mean he might end up struggling for mana, which is why you can use cores that do help with that. So there you have it. That is my complete and updated build guide on Choi Jong-In, and overall he is still a very good hunter, but just not as good as the main best hunters in the game, unfortunately. But he is still very, very good in Guild Boss. And of course, if you did enjoy this video or you just found it useful in general, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Peace!